If your car broke down tomorrow and the repair came back at $1,200, would you be okay? Not okay as in you would survive. I mean, would you be able to pay it without going into debt? Would you be able to pay that bill without having to borrow money from a family member, without putting it on a credit card and hoping for the best? Because according to brand new data, and I'm talking a report that just dropped in January 2026, fewer than 1 in 4 Americans living paycheck to paycheck could confidently say yes to that question. 1 in 4. And here's what makes that number even more eye-opening. This isn't just people who are struggling. This isn't just people who are unemployed or in a crisis. This is everyday people with jobs, people earning $60,000, $80,000, some of them even over $100,000 a year. And they are still one unexpected bill away from falling behind. Today, we're going to dig into the January 2026 Paycheck to Paycheck report from Payments Intelligence. And I'm going to show you exactly what it says, why it matters, and what you can actually do about it. By the way, if you're new here, my name is Allison, and I create videos all about how to budget, save money, and pay off debt while living your best life. Okay, here's where we start. As of late 2025, roughly 65% of American consumers are living paycheck to paycheck. That's 2 out of 3 people. Let that sink in for a second. That means that if you're sitting in a room of 10 people right now, statistically, 6 or 7 of them are spending every dollar they make before the next paycheck arrives. Now, I want to be careful here because paycheck to paycheck can mean different things to different people. And this report is really smart about breaking that down. They identify 3 distinct groups. Group 1 is paycheck to paycheck by necessity. These are people where the math just simply does not work. Their housing, groceries, utilities, car payment, insurance, by the time they pay all of their bills, they have nothing left, like nothing. They're not splurging. They're not overspending on Amazon. It's just that the cost of living has outpaced what they earn. And this group is growing fast. In December 2024, about 29% of consumers fell into this category. But 1 year later, by December 2025, that number jumped to 40%. That is an 11 percentage point increase in 12 months. That's not like this slow change. That is a massive change. Group 2 are the people that live paycheck to paycheck by choice. This group earns enough to have some breathing room in their spending, but their lifestyle has expanded to fill every dollar. Think subscription creep, they're eating out constantly, upgraded cars, a bigger house than they need. Their income did go up, but their spending went right up with it, which means that they have nothing left over every month. And group 3 is a mix of both. They're this middle group, they're covering their needs, but they're also making some optional purchases. Maybe it's a few too many Amazon orders or a vacation they can't quite afford. And between the necessary expenses and the nice to have expenses, the account hits 0 every single month. But here's why this distinction matters so much. If you're in group 1, your primary challenge most likely is income, housing costs, or reducing your fixed expenses. But if you're in group 2 or 3, your primary challenge is spending habits and intentionality. The solution is different depending on which group you're in. So as we go through this, I want you to be honest with yourself and ask yourself, which group am I in? Which one is me? Now, here's something I want to address right now because I hear it all the time. I hear all the time, I just need to make more money. If I earned more, I wouldn't be in this cycle. And I understand that feeling. I really do, because there are times when I feel that way too. But the data, the numbers tells a different story. Right now, people who are making under $50,000 a year, 73% of them are living paycheck to paycheck. People who make between $50,000 and $100,000 a year, 48% of them are living paycheck to paycheck. And people that are making $100,000 and above, there is still 29% of them living paycheck to paycheck. This tells me that more money doesn't automatically break the cycle. Now, let me be really clear. I am not sitting here and trying to dismiss the cost of living crisis. It is real. Grocery prices are up. Housing costs are up. I know for us personally, our home insurance and our car insurance is up. So if you're in that group one, the one that the math just genuinely doesn't work right now, that is a systematic problem, not necessarily a personal failure. But the income myth, the idea that earning more automatically fixes everything, is busted by this data, because we can see that people at every income level are caught in this cycle. And the reason is almost always the same. There is no plan for the money before it arrives. And I know this is true from my own personal story. My husband, Matt, and I were both two teachers, and we had racked up over $111,000 of debt. That was between student loans and car payments. This did not even include our mortgage. And one of the reasons why we had this debt is that we had no plan. Money came in, money went out, and we had no idea where it went. We weren't making any decisions about where our money was going to go. I, for years, was the spender. I still like spending money, but for years I would spend. And honestly, my husband would just let me buy things because he thought that it would make me happy. And honestly, it did. It did make me happy for about 5 minutes. But then the anxiety, that financial anxiety, would set in. The income myth told me, you just need a raise. You need to make more money. But the truth was, I actually needed a plan. Okay, this is the part of the report I want you to really pay attention to, because this is where paycheck to paycheck living stops being a theoretical problem and it becomes a real crisis. 57% of all consumers experienced at least one major unexpected expense in the past year. And for 2/3 of them, it cost more than $1,000. I'm in that statistic. My family and I, we experienced probably more than one major unexpected expense in the past year. I can think of like 3 of them off the top of my head. Less than 1 in 4 paycheck to paycheck consumers feel confident they could even cover a $1,000 surprise expense tomorrow without falling behind on their bills. And 56.8% of those already struggling to pay bills say they are very or extremely worried about a financial shock in the next 12 months. And I can see why they would be. Years ago, when my husband and I were desperately trying to pay off debt and get our finances together, we went through an emergency with our old dog, Joey, RIP Joey. He developed gangrene in his leg, and the vet told us that he needed surgery immediately, like the next day. And we figured out that the cost was going to be around $3,000. By that point in our journey, thank goodness we had money in an emergency fund. Not a lot, but just enough to cover the cost of that. I think we had $4,000 at the time. And I remember standing there and thinking, this is exactly what this money is for. We didn't have to put it onto a credit card. We didn't have to call our parents and ask for money. We didn't have to take out a loan or choose between our dog and our bills. But here's what I also remember. I remember the years before that when we did not have a cushion. And every single time something unexpected happened, it was always this really stressful financial emergency on top of an already stressful situation. I remember that cycle, and here's exactly what it looks like. Money comes in, you get paid, bills go out, your account hits zero, or maybe you just have a little bit of money left to just cover your groceries, things like that. Then something breaks or an unexpected expense happens, and you have to then go into debt to cover it. Now you're adding a minimum payment to your monthly bills, which means less money the next month, which just makes the next surprise even harder. This cycle is really easy to get into and a little bit harder to get out of. And the only way to break the cycle is to insert something into it. And it's called a financial cushion. This is a buffer between you and the next emergency. That's exactly what we're building toward. Okay, so who is getting hit hardest? I know that every generation feels like they have it the worst. So let's look at the data and see who does. If you're at a certain age or life stage, these numbers are going to feel very personal. Let's look at Gen Z overall. Just overall Gen Z, 42% of them are living paycheck to paycheck. Now, what's cool is this study also breaks down what they call middle Gen Z, which are people ages 23 to 25. And 51% of them are living paycheck to paycheck. That's the hardest hit group. And it makes sense. They're basically in the thick of adulting the first time. They have rent, a car payment, student loans, groceries for the first time, maybe without mom and dad's fridge to raid. They're taking all the financial responsibilities of adulthood at the exact moment when the cost of everything, honestly, has just exploded. Now, this is not a Gen Z problem exclusively, but I want to say this directly to anyone in that age group watching. You're not failing. The environment you stepped into is genuinely hard. And the answer is not shame. The answer is a plan. This study also found that 38% of millennials are living paycheck to paycheck, 36% of Gen X, and 30% of boomers. Okay, so this is where we go from the data to action. And I want to give you 3 specific money moves here. I don't want to just give you some vague advice and just say, oh, you need to invest more. I want to give you actual steps that you can take this week. Money move number 1 is to know your group. Go back to those 3 columns I drew at the beginning. Paycheck to paycheck by necessity, by choice, or a mix. Before you do anything else, you need an honest diagnosis of where you are. Pull out your last 2 months of bank statements, not your budget, your actual statements. What did you actually spend? Where did the money go? Did you have any money left over? When I sat down in college with my mom and we went through my bank statements, I was in shock. I had no idea how much I was spending on eating out, on random purchases, on things that I honestly didn't even remember buying. I had a spending problem that I had been totally blind to. The data here, your spending doesn't lie. Your bank statement is your financial truth. And the truth, even when it's uncomfortable, is where change begins. So print your last 2 months' bank statements, highlight your fixed bills in one color, highlight discretionary spending, things like restaurants, Amazon, entertainment in another, and add it all up. Then ask yourself, where is my money going? Where is it going that I don't really want it to go to? This step alone changes things for people. Money move number 2 is to build your $1,000 wall. The data showed us that there is a difference between people who handle a surprise expense fine and people who fall into debt over it. And it almost always comes down to one thing, a small cash cushion. Now, I would love for you to have a 3-month emergency fund, but I know for some people that feels so far out of reach. So if you don't have an emergency fund yet, if you don't have any money in savings, then set a goal to save $1,000. This is the first wall between you and an unexpected expense. When the car breaks down, and it will, that $1,000 wall means that you don't have to swipe the credit card. When a medical bill comes, and it will, that wall means that you don't have to take 4 steps backward on your other goals. So how do you build it? How do you save $1,000 fast? Well, here are 4 quick things you can do. First, sell something. Most of us have probably between $200 to $500 worth of stuff that we are not using. So whether you sell it on Facebook Marketplace, eBay, a garage sale, whatever it is, sell some stuff and get some of that money. Another thing you can do is cut 1 to 3 things for 60 days. Maybe it's 1 subscription or 1 habit. Even $50 a month redirected somewhere else adds up. I know personally that if I were to cut out our restaurants, or honestly not even restaurants, more like convenience pick up food, it would save us a lot of money. I think more people spend money on that than they realize. If you received a tax refund or you have a windfall of money, a gift of money, then use that. The average refund is over $3,000. So do not let it disappear and don't spend it on who knows what. And then finally, another option is to pick up 1 income boost. Maybe you work 1 extra shift or you take on a side hustle. Even if you're just driving food for Uber Eats or Uber, it's just temporary. You can do it for a temporary amount of time to build up that $1,000 wall. Money move number 3 is to budget before you are paid. This is the move that changed everything for my family, and it sounds simple because it is, but simple doesn't always mean easy, and simple doesn't mean we actually follow through with it. A budget is just a plan for your money before the month or before your pay period begins. That's it. You list out your income, you include your fixed expenses, your rent or your mortgage, utilities, car insurance. You include your variable expenses like groceries, gas, and spending money. And then be sure to look at your debts and savings. And then see what's left. Here's what most people do. They get paid, they spend, they check the balance, they panic, right? They're always reacting to their money instead of being proactive with it. A budget flips that. You decide in advance where every dollar goes before it has a chance to leave your bank account. When my husband and I wrote our very first real budget, I remember we were just sitting at this kitchen table and we discovered that we owed $100,000 of debt, more than that actually. Writing a budget didn't magically fix everything. In fact, we blew our first budget in 7 days. 7 days, and we could not stick to it. But we kept going. We adjusted. We made it more realistic. We stopped writing the budget we wished we lived, and we started writing the budget that matched our actual life. And slowly over time, month by month, we started breaking that cycle. The paycheck to paycheck cycle breaks when you have a plan, a buffer, and the honesty to face your numbers. Here's what I want to leave you with. The January 2026 data is very eye-opening. 65% of Americans are living paycheck to paycheck out of pure necessity. Fewer than 1 in 4 who could handle a $1,000 surprise without going backwards. But here's what the data can't show you. It can't show you the couple who sat at their kitchen table in a small apartment staring at 6 figures of debt on 2 teacher salaries, that couple who decided to do something different. It can't show you the years of budgets, the years of sacrifice, the moments of doubt. It can't show you what it feels like to finally build that emergency fund and have life throw something at you and for the first time, it not wreck you. That data point doesn't show up in a report, but it exists, and it can exist for you too. You don't need a perfect plan to get started. You don't need to be starting from even a great place. You just need to start. Know which group you're in, build your $1,000 wall, and write a budget before you are paid. Those 3 moves done consistently, not perfectly, but consistently over time are how the paycheck to paycheck cycle breaks. If this video was helpful, please hit subscribe. I make videos every week to help you take back control of your money. And if you're ready to take that first budgeting step right now, I've got a video that walks you through writing your very first budget from scratch. I'll link to it right here.